Press X to use it, press start, and then go to press X on start game. At this point your PS2 should eject this. This is where I'm going to put in the actual copy of Kingdom Hearts. Hold tight. When you're done that, press X. Your PS2 will put the disc slot back inside. Now, as I said before, I'm using a patched version of Codebreaker, so mine will boot up to ULaunch. Your version should load up the game right away, but either way, get the game started. When ULaunch is loaded up, obviously because I'm using an actual game, I need to go back to the PS2 browser. And as you can see here, it's loaded up. One other thing to note is obviously for many games the logos and text and everything is still 4x3, so it will be stretched, but otherwise the in-game engine, 3D, as well as the FMVs in a lot of games are what is properly fixed. So just get it and just wait for it to load up. We're going to start a new game just to show you what it looks like. Click normal, yes, on, proceed. And as you can see here, this is the beginning FMV. If you notice, it is not letterbox with it. It does not have the top and bottom have black bars. So be sure to set your TV to full to get the proper aspect ratio. And you can see here, it looks perfectly fine. It is stretched to your widescreen TV here. Now obviously this FMV takes a while, so I'm just going to skip right to where the game starts and the FMV finishes. So just hold tight. And we're back. As you can see, the FMV is just finishing. As I said before, it's properly blown up for your widescreen TV. And here we are. As you can see, it is proper widescreen. At least the in-game engine is the 3D. As you can see, the text is still stretched, which is the way it is for a lot of games, which is, you're going to have to compensate. If you're okay with that, then you're going to be able to enjoy widescreen. I don't know if you can notice on the camera, but Sora is a bit pixely. That's the only thing you have to notice. Obviously, because it is widescreen, the game has more to render. So when it is blown up in widescreen, some games that, are high graphic fidelity are going to look a bit pixelated. But again, if you're okay with that, then yeah, you're going to enjoy games in proper widescreen.
If the PS2 game you want widescreen for is not on the games list in Codebreaker, you can simply add the game in yourself. However, when you do, you're going to need both the widescreen code and the master code for the game you added in. Finding master code is usually really easy and just takes a simple Google search. It usually starts with an F or a 9. Sometimes you'll find more than one master code for a particular PS2 game, in which case you'll just have to test them out yourself by trying any random cheat code like infinite lives or health. As well, when searching for a master code, you might find one, but it's for another cheat device such as Action Replay Max. If you do, you can still use that code, but you'll need to convert it over to Codebreaker. You can do this really easy with the program OmniConvert. Alright, so I have the program OmniConvert open here just to quickly show you how it works. On the left side is the input and the right side is the output. So you would click on input, highlight Action Replay and whatever version we're converting from, for this example Action Replay Max. And the output, we would click on output, highlight unencrypted, and click on Codebreaker because we're converting to the raw Codebreaker form. And just for example, I have the game here, Crash Bandicoot: The Wrath of Cortex for the PS2. This is the master code for the Action Replay Max, so we're just going to highlight that, copy it, going to paste that into here in the input section, paste it, and then convert. And this would be your master code for Codebreaker. Like I said before, you'll know it worked because it usually starts with either an F or 9. So yeah, that's the master code. You would simply copy and paste that and use that in Codebreaker on a PS2. Aside from forcing widescreen in some games, some PS2 games actually have a code to force 480p or progressive scan as well. So for example, I have here the PS2 widescreen folder open. I'm going to click on NTSCU and scroll down quickly to the game Tales of the Abyss, and I'm going to click on the panache file. And as you can see here, it has a code for both 16:9 and progressive scans. So, when you use both of those in tandem on an actual PS2, it'll pretty much, make the game look as graphically strong as any PS2 game could look anyway. Obviously, not every game has this progressive scan feature to force it, just because some games will have errors, some games will freeze, and sometimes the FMVs won't even show up, it'll just have a black screen. And with some games, when you try to force 480p, the resolution might actually get worse just because the game code, was not made for 480p in general. If, like me, you're too lazy to input the files on your actual PS2 using the controller, there is a way to make it much easier. You would use the program here called CBC Maker PS2, and pretty much you input the files from the panache file into CBC Maker PS2. It would output a file with the extension CBS. You would take that file, put it onto your USB, stick the USB onto your PS2, load up Codebreaker, and then Codebreaker should recognize the CBS file, and then pretty much make it another entry on its games list, making it much easier for you. So very quickly here, I'll show you how the program works. Pretty much, we'll quickly read the README file here. Pretty much any cheat codes that you input into it needs to be in this following format. As you can see, the title of the game needs to be in quotations. Like before, it needs the enable code. And as you can see, every code has the 8-character pattern followed by the second one. And as well, you can see every code has the $sign at the beginning. And notice the double slash, just like in the panache file, meaning everything written after it is uncommented. So very quickly here, we'll go to the Kingdom Hearts panache file. Pretty much we need to make that into this following format. So to make it a bit easier for yourself, you would highlight in the panache file, highlight this first section, copy it, click on edit, click replace, paste that in, and then replace. Remember, every code needs to start with a $sign. With the $sign, replace all. As you can see there, $sign at the beginning of every code. Next, highlight this comma, word comma. Replace again. Click, paste that in, and for the replace with, just press the spacebar once. Replace all, and as you can see already, the codes are already at the beginning. Fortunately, after this, you have to manually take out this other stuff that you don't need. But anyways, just to show you quickly what it will look like when it is done, it'll look something like this. Remember, the title is in quotations. Notice I called it Kingdom Hearts WS just because, it might replace the Kingdom Hearts that's already on your games list on Codebreaker. And notice here I kept every code separate. It's up to you whether you want to put them in separate entries or just, you can remove them entirely and everything will be all of these codes will be under the widescreen entry if you want. The only thing that's missing here is, remember, the master code. And if you remember, usually a quick Google entry will get you the master code, or just very quickly show you here. Or you would use, a good site to use is this cheats.codetwink.com. Here, and scroll down very quickly. The Codebreaker we're using, yes, is 6+, so you would copy that code in. as before, remember it usually starts with either an F or a 9, that's so you know that's the right code. And then you would input that here. So copy all of that, and then you would paste that into the CBC maker. You would call it whatever you want. Just very quickly, Kingdom Hearts. As you can see, it's a CBC file. You could browse to wherever you want to save it. And then you'd simply click Build CBC, and it would make a file. They would make this file Kingdom Hearts.cbc. Mine, the default location for mine was in the CBC Maker PS2, so you can see here it made a Kingdom Hearts.cbc file. You would take that, copy it, and put it onto your USB, and put it onto your PS2, and hopefully it should recognize it, the Codebreaker. If it doesn't, you may need this upgrade.bin as well as the CBC file, and copy them both onto your USB, onto the root of your USB, and then PS2 Codebreaker should recognize it then. Okay, so after creating that CBC file on your computer using the CBC Maker PS2, I've copied that CBC file onto my USB and stuck the USB onto my PS2. So after doing that, I'll now just load it up Codebreaker here on my PS2 just to quickly show you what you're supposed to do. Click here on day 1. Obviously select source drive, we're going to select the USB. And as you can see here, it loads up all these CBC files that I've made before in the past, as well as the new one. You can see here the Kingdom Hearts WS, which is the one we made on the computer. As well, you can see it supports the official ones, Crash Bandicoot Wrath of Cortex. These ones I've gotten off, these CBC files I've gotten off the official Codebreaker website. But anyways, we're just going to load up the new Kingdom Hearts file we just made here, so click X on it. You can see, press triangle to add cheats after selecting, so press triangle, one game added or updated. And as you could see here, the new entry that we made before is on the list. Quickly press right if you want to check what it looks like. And as you could see here, all the cheat entries are separated just like the way we did it on the computer. One other thing I forgot to mention before is if you weren't able to find a master code for the particular game, you could have always just used the one you had before. So example, I would have just used this one. And ironically enough, the master code is exactly the same as the one we just made. But anyway, yeah, that's how to make it much easier for yourself to copy cheats onto Codebreaker instead of having to manually, input them using your controller on an actual PS2.